welcome back to my channel. I'm Marie, and today's video is a recap of week 17 to 18 because I'm 18 weeks and 6 days today. So last Tuesday I went to see the specialist and she was doing a follow-up on the cerclage, and they did a scan and they, an ultrasound, and they're like, your baby's doing good. And I got to see the baby more, and this time was really funny. Last time the baby had its legs kind of stretched out and was kicking, and then it turned and mooned me, which was hilarious. This time though, the baby had its legs over its head, and I was like, wow, that does not look comfortable. Like, it wasn't a fetal position. It had its legs like over its head. I was like, okay. I'm like, I have a weird baby. But I'm sure, like, they move a lot. I'm not really feeling the baby move because kind of chubby, so there's some padding in there and I'm not feeling that yet. But the tech was like, your baby looks good, and she printed some pictures, and then she's like, okay, the doctor I'm gonna go show her this and she'll probably call you into her office. And then the tech came back in and was like, you know what, never mind, she wants to do another ultrasound. And I just got dressed. I was like, all right. And it's not that hard to get dressed because I'm wearing maternity pants, so they're real stretchy on top. And the shoes that I wear are slide-in shoes. They're like clogs. And so I just slipped my foot in there. So it's pretty easy. But I was just like, oh, because I had all that goo on my stomach and I had just cleaned it off and everything. I was like, all right. So I laid back down, and then she came in a few minutes later, and this time she didn't do the vaginal one. She just did the one on the outside on my stomach, and I was like, thank you, because everybody's been poking around in there. But she's like, well, I have to actually physically look to make sure the cerclage is okay, because you can see it on the scans when the tech did it, the ultrasound. And she actually pulled up a couple pictures to show me, because the tech was just going so fast, so I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on, because I couldn't see the baby at that point, so I didn't really care. It's like, well, that's not my adorable little baby blob. It's, this blobs of other things, and I don't know what I'm looking at. But she showed me how my cervix come down, and it's like, it's kind of, well, maybe I'll do it like this. So it's like that. And I don't know if you can see, maybe if I do this. Okay, so it's like that. So one side is shorter than the other, and I could see that. I was like, oh, okay. I know why she said it was shorter. It wasn't like so much shorter that I was like, whoa, that's a huge difference, but it was significantly, like, you could see the difference. And the cerclage was fine. I didn't have any infections or anything like that. And she did mention that little thing. I'm gonna put the name down. I forgot to bring the paper with me to tell you what it was called, but I'll put the name here of what the urologist called that little bubble thing that she thinks what she thinks it is. But it was still there, and it wasn't filled with pee or anything, and it doesn't hurt. It's not bleeding, which is great. But the doctor was like, I still see it. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, I'm still a little concerned. And I was like, well, I have an appointment. It was a phone appointment. That was on Tuesday. So on Thursday, I had the appointment with the urologist to talk to her about it. She was like, okay, that's good. And then she was like poking it. She's like, do you feel that? I was like, no, I didn't feel it at all. It's kind of weird, because usually if somebody's poking in there, you can feel what's going on, but I didn't feel her touching it. So I was like, well, that's good. So not bleeding, and I can feel it. So those are really good things, even though it's something kind of weird. And everything else looked good. And then she's like, okay, we'll bring you back in 2 weeks. We want to do a scan of the baby and check on the cerclage again. I'm like, all right. And so on the 15th, today's the 9th, so on the 15th, I have another appointment with her. And so that went well. I was happy. And then on Thursday, I talked to the urologist. That was a video chat appointment. And she's like, I still want to actually see it in person just to make sure that, it is what I'm thinking it is, because she saw a picture of it when I was in the surgical room with the other specialist. And she had sent her intern in, so she didn't actually see what it was herself. And then that was 3 weeks ago now, so she just wants to make sure that whatever it is isn't going to be causing any problems. And she asked about if it was hurting when I pee or if it's bleeding or anything like that. And I don't get UTIs normally. I've had one that was last year. Totally took me by surprise. I did not expect that. I was just like, yeah, I've never had any issues. Every time I go for a pap smear or whatever, they've never said anything about it. So her and the specialist baby doctor thought that it's just because it's hormones, and so it's something new that's appeared due to the hormones of being pregnant. So I'm like, okay. Because last time, the first time that I was pregnant, it's like that never appeared. I didn't have a cerclage done at that point either, but you know, you still get checkups sometimes, and they didn't see anything. And then I've had pap smears since then as well, and nobody saw anything. So it is something new, but because it's not hurting me, they're just like, it's fine, we'll leave it alone. And she just wants to check, make sure that it isn't infected or anything. And that appointment isn't until New Year's Eve, which I was like, that's kind of a weird day to have a doctor's appointment. But they're still open that day. They had an opening that was in the afternoon, because the first appointment they wanted to give me was a few days before at 8:30 in the morning. I was like, that's not going to happen. I live too far away to make it there at 8:30 in the morning. And I'm not a morning person right now. I have insomnia so bad. I fall asleep typically between 2 and 3 in the morning. I go to bed at like 9, but I just don't fall asleep. So I don't get up really early, and I want to be on time. And also, just because I live an hour away, it's like so much traffic just to get there. I don't want to be like, okay, I'll do it just because that's the appointment that you're trying to give me, and then be late. I don't like being late to things. It annoys me. Even if the person who's I'm going to meet is like, it's fine, you could be a few minutes late, I just get annoyed. So I try really hard to be on time. The next appointment he gave me, he's like, well, you have one at like 1 or 2. I don't remember what time, but I was like, well, that's perfect. I'll make it there in the afternoon. You know, if I get up at like 10 or something, I can still make it somewhere by like 1. So I'm like, that's a great time. On Friday, I was supposed to have another appointment. It was just a phone appointment. My husband came to me Friday, and I was dressed, and I was just like thinking, oh, I'm going to make the video. He's like, you know what? Let's go to Costco right now. Because it was kind of the afternoon. It wasn't before, like, it was before 5. So it wasn't when everybody's getting off work, rushing there. He's like, this is a great time to go, which it is during the day. It's always a good time to go because there's less people. And there was a lot of people, but it wasn't crowded. I went, and I kind of had forgotten about the call until when we got there. I was like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be getting a call any minute now. So I turned the ringer up on my phone, but I still didn't hear it. And I think maybe if I had the little earpiece in and just put it into my ear, I would have heard, because then it would have rang in my ear. But it was in my pocket, and normally I hear it because it's so loud, but I missed that call. And it was just like a dietitian appointment, and they basically just go over your blood sugar. And if it's too high on a regular basis, then they kind of bitch at you because you're eating bad. But mine, it's like, I've had almost every day, it's under 120. And when it's not, it's because I ate something that I shouldn't have eaten, or ate too much of something. So that's maybe like once a week where I'm like, oh, I'm eating something, and I kind of don't think about it. Because a lot of times when I eat very small meals because I just can't eat that much. And I start feeling sick when I'm like, okay, I need to eat more carbs. That's one of the things the dietitian was like, you have to have more carbs. And so I'm trying to eat like bread or, you know, mashed potatoes or something after I've eaten everything else. And I'm just like, oh, I feel like I'm gonna throw up. So every once in a while I'm eating something, I'm like, you know, I feel good. Like last night we had pasta. I ate a lot, and normally I don't. And my blood sugar was still good because I needed the carbs and everything. And I didn't have anything else besides just the pasta. But when I get something that I can eat, I'm like, oh yay, this is good. And so I didn't overeat, but I just ate more than I normally would. And that's happened a couple other times. Usually it's like once a week, and they're like, oh, you have this one spike in, like on Thanksgiving Day, it was good. And then you could tell I had Thanksgiving dinner, and I'm not sure which one of these two things got me. It was either because I had cranberries, which I didn't have a lot of, or I had 2 rolls, and I should have just had 1 roll and maybe less cranberries. But one of those things, my blood sugar was like 130. And then it went back down to normal. So it's just like, the doctor was like, that's fine. You know, it's not consistently 130 or higher than that. It's just from that one specific meal. So I'm like, okay. So I relaxed a little bit on how much I'm like weighing everything and making sure that I'm not eating too much of something that has sugar in it. So I'm just like, okay, as long as I don't do that on a daily basis, and most of the time I just can't even eat the whole amount that they're telling me to eat anyway. So I just kind of figured they're just going to bitch at me about like those 2 times over the last 3 weeks that, you know, my blood sugar was high, that since the last time I talked to them. So I have another dietitian appointment on Friday, which is just a phone appointment. And that's been it this week for baby stuff. I haven't had, it's been kind of a quiet week. I've had some work to do, which I was grateful for, because I'm just like, I need to do something. And I know I should be like I need to make a video, but I don't know, just I'm a graphic designer, and I just really have wanted to do something creative and like physical and not just like a video, because this isn't that creative. I just kind of sit here and talk, which I like talking, but it's not the same thing. So I had a client call me and she's like, I need a logo. And outside of the baby stuff, I've been trying to kind of find some other things to kind of keep me busy. And one of the people that's on the board of the HOA is moving, and she's the activity like party director person, and I helped her out at the beginning of the year with the Super Bowl party. And last year I had wanted to do more stuff with the HOA, because the president, actually, you can kind of see his house from where we live. He's kind of backing at an angle behind our house. And when we first moved in, we went to the first meeting just to get to know the board and see if they were like the kind of people who are like, oh my God, you know, you planted the wrong rose bush or something like that. Or if they were laid back, and they're very laid back. So I was like, this is cool. And I have the time. So I'm like, you know, I'll help out. But then last year I wasn't home. I ended up traveling for about 8 months out of the whole year. And it wasn't all at one time. It was like spread out. So it was like, I didn't get to do anything. And then this year I was like, I'm going to, you know, be doing stuff. So the Super Bowl party was like, yeah, I'll help out with that. And then Rona hits, and it's like, we're not doing anything for a while. So the woman who was in charge of that, I got to know her a little bit, and I'm so sad that she's leaving, because we're like around the same age and we have a lot in common. And I like talking to her. I'm like, you're gonna move? Like, man, because, you know, even if she didn't move, and I would still help with all the parties and stuff, because then, you know, there's somebody who's similar to me that I could talk to. And, you know, it just, I always had fun when we chatted and stuff. So when she moved, when I texted her, I was like, are you moving? Because I saw a sign, and I was like, I think that's her house. And she's like, yeah. And then she told the HOA guy, the president, you know, ask her if she'll take over. And I was like, yeah. So now I'm going to be the event director, or whatever they call it, social committee, something like that. There isn't a lot for me to do right now because of the coronavirus thing. So, you know, the next few months are going to be kind of low-key and quiet, but, you know, it's still like, okay, I have something to look forward to. And it's just, so I get to be a little more involved with the neighbors and stuff, because I've only lived here like 2 years, so I don't really know that many people that well. And eventually, when it's safer to like be around people, then I'll get to know my neighbors. But yeah, so like so personally, there's some things going on that I'm looking forward to, kind of keep me busy. And it's not all just baby focused. I mean, this is a lot. There's like so many appointments. This week and next week are kind of lower on appointments, just one each. And next week is a in-person visit, and then that's kind of it. But it's the last few weeks, it's just been like 2-3 appointments a week. And I'm like, oh my God, it gets a little tiring, but things are going well and everything. And then the other thing that we're going to be doing, one of the things we didn't like about our house, and it was kind of a smaller thing when we bought it, we had looked at other houses, and there was one we actually put a bid on, but when we got the inspection back, there was so many problems with that house. It was like, this house looks nice, but it's going to be nothing but costly problems for us. So we ended up walking away from that house, and my husband was just like, yeah, but we really like the house. I'm like, there's going to be another house. And 2 weeks later, we found this one. And the only difference between the houses, really, besides like a few layout differences, because they're almost, I think it's the same builders and designers that did this neighborhood that did the other one that we're looking at, because the houses look really, really similar. The biggest difference was this house has carpet in the bedrooms, and the other house was all wood floor. And I was like, okay, well, there's carpet, but it's only in the bedroom, and the rest of the house is wood. So we're like, okay, that's not such a big deal, and it's a lot cheaper to replace the carpet with wood floor than it is all those other problems, plus whatever like little changes. Like, but this house, it was like the carpet, that's it. the rest of the house we painted when we moved in. Like, this room was like a creamy yellow color, and it was kind of like, eh. And so we kind of went with a gray as our kind of basic color throughout most of the rooms. And you know, it's like, that was it. That was all the changes that we made. We bought the wood floor this weekend. We finally found something, because he wanted real hardwood, not engineered, and he didn't want to put laminate or linoleum or whatever. But he's just like, no, I want to put real wood. And I'm like, all right. So it took us a while to find something we liked. And he bought all the materials, and now we have to like prepare all the rooms and rip up the carpet. And I've actually ripped up carpet before where I used to live. There was nice wood floors underneath. I knew that already. So I just ripped up the carpet. You just take a big box cutter and just slice down the middle, and then you can start ripping up the carpet. It's really easy. But I'm pregnant, so I'm gonna help as much as I can. But you know, like in here, I can move all the stuff in here. Like, this little table in front of me weighs less than 10 pounds. And it's just so light. So I can pick it up and move it. And like, I just move half of it and then move the other half. So there's stuff in here, like all the lighting. I don't think any of these things weigh more than 5 pounds. So I can help with that. But the other rooms, like with our furniture, I'm like, oh, I can take the drawers out of the dresser, and then my husband will move the dresser itself. So I'm like, you know, those are things that I can help out with. But the week between Christmas and New Year's, he has that week off, and that's when we want to prepare everything before that, and then he can actually put the new floor down. So I'm looking forward to that, because it's going to be so much easier. I have really bad allergies, and just being able to sweep and mop when it, you know, just like even just dry mopping it where you kind of dust it or whatever, it'll just be so much cleaner, and my allergies won't be as bad, because it's starting to affect my allergies at this point as well. Like, even though my bed itself, I have like a special cover over my pillow on the bed and everything, and I wash my sheets and blankets every week in hot water, just the allergens in the room itself it's like I'm stuffy even right now, just sitting here talking. Like, I can feel my nose is all stuffy right here, and so that's gonna be nice. Like, I'm looking forward to those things. And I know how lucky I am, because a lot of people this year with the corona and everything, they're not sure if they're even gonna have a place to live, and I know how fortunate I am. And I'm gonna cry now. And I do know that, like, I've never been this secure in my life. So I do know how fortunate I am that things are going well for me, and so I hope that everybody else is doing okay as well. And I'm gonna stop now, because I kind of lost my train of thought, and I'm just getting teary-eyed. So I will see you guys in my next video, which I'm gonna try to do like maybe next Wednesday, because I do have that appointment on Tuesday. That way it's not like a whole week later, it's just maybe the next day, because that one is an in-person appointment and not just a video chat or a phone appointment. And I'm starting to lose my voice at this point too. I don't know why. So I will see you guys soon. Bye.